What is most important to Duncan Craig? I think it's relationships, bar none.
The largest part of our firm client base are owner-operated, family-owned businesses. So entrepreneurs, and these businesses change with the way the city changes and the way that the province changes.
125 years to be still operating. Now, it started as Short and Cross, as I'm sure you might have heard, which is a great name. It describes some of our partners.
The founders of William Short and Charles Cross. One was the first mayor of the city of Edmonton in 1904, and Charles Cross that was William Short, and Charles Cross was the first Attorney General and Minister of Justice of the province of Alberta.
In 125 years, we haven't traveled beyond a city block.
I started with Duncan, Bowen, Craig, Smith, Brasso, and Horn in 1968. And I think I'm the oldest surviving member of the firm.
Darcy Duncan and Bill Craig were different personalities.
So Darcy Duncan was, at least the time I knew him, sort of a kinder, softer gentleman.
The question around the table then is, what would Darcy do?
Bill Craig, on the other hand, while also a gentleman, was a lawyer's lawyer.
He would sometimes ask you tricky questions to see if you were on the ball.
I always disliked, as a student, getting some kind of a work assignment from Bill Craig, because I always knew that he knew the answer.
Darcy Duncan probably was, I would think, next to my father, and probably for many of the lawyers here next to their fathers, probably the greatest man they ever met.
But they cared about you. They were interested in not just you, the student, or you, the lawyer, but you, the person.
The challenges that the firm has faced go back a number of years, needless to say.
Wow, lots of hills and valleys and mountains and ravines, up and down.
And this is before my time. I think back in the 1950s with the polio epidemic. One of the partners died in that epidemic. A couple partners left the firm at that time.
Well, the 1980s, the challenge of the 1980s was that Alberta was definitely in the grips of a massive recession.
I mean, we've had tragedy here too. We've lost partners, some in sad ways, some in natural ways, some way before the time, before they should have left us.
Like every business, we've had the difficulty of technology, having to make sure that we are technically up to date.
Technologically, when I first started, the assistants, who were in those days called secretaries, made carbon copies of everything.
There was no computer system per se. There was a word processing system.
They got some newfangled equipment called Selectric typewriters.
It was an in-house made one, and it was monochrome, and it was clunky, and their smoke came out of the room a lot and everything like that.
Probably a whole another list of difficulties. People is always a difficulty. Finding good, qualified people that share your same ideals.
I would say we have a healthy degree of respect for each other and for the law. And we have, at the same time, what I'd call a healthy degree of disrespect.
And going along with the camaraderie at Duncan Craig is also the practical jokes.
Some office pranks, some painted offices.
I'm not the practical joker in the firm, but we've had some great practical jokes played over the years, and some of them on me.
Oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to be able to tell them all or anything.
Well, some of the fun that I'd want to recount right now would not be reflective of the true nature of Duncan Craig.
It's too bad because a lot of them involve certain behaviors that probably shouldn't be made known.
The partners were away at a retreat, and the associates who were left behind and the staff had a big party in the boardroom.
And somehow, this was a slightly different finish on this table then. people decided that they should water slide on the boardroom table.
Where they would take a run and slide down the whole table. Well, at the end of the thing, they discovered that, in fact, the table warped.
The greatest one is the notorious Mr. Justice Pat Feehan picture.
And there's the story about Pat Feehan that you probably heard, where he hung a photograph of himself in the lineup of photographs of all of the judges. You've heard this story, I'm sure, have you?
And there was one, the biggest story is when we did actually get Ted Feehan, one of our partners. Ted felt that he had been given a painting, an expensive painting from a client of ours who was hiding artwork.
You can't just be entirely appropriate all the time in all your dealings. At some point, you will continue to be proper and appropriate in a certain level, but you will also have some fun.
So your question to me was what impact Duncan Craig has had on the law. And in my view, the impact has been profound.
I think one of the biggest contributions that our practice group and that the firm has made to the community has been in the area of development of the law.
Over the course of the time that I've been in the legal profession, the practice of law has changed markedly.
The thing which sets Duncan Craig apart from a lot of law firms is that the partners seem to be more accepting of each other's differences.
Regardless of personal difference or conflict, and that just happens with relationships. When there's a person in need, whether it's a partner or a staff member, the rest rally behind that.
It took me about 3 days to feel part of the Duncan Craig family.
Particularly for myself, who practices outside of this office, it's like I'm on the 29th floor or maybe the 25th floor.
It really is family. It really is a part of my life, and I've just received so much from this firm. I love coming to work. I love practicing the law.
My firm has my back. They cover me.
Good question. How has Duncan and Craig influenced my life? It has taught me a lot. It has given me the opportunity to look after my family.
If you can help somebody learn something and help somebody better themselves, you've done a pretty good day's work.